Welcome to another conversation on the 39A podcast. I am Vibhor Jain, a lawyer with Project 39A. Project 39A is an extensive criminal justice program based out of National Law University, Delhi. Today, we are talking about the impact of the COVID 19 pandemic on criminal law practitioners in India. Like every aspect of life over the last 16 months, the lives of lawyers practicing criminal law in various parts of the country were also greatly impacted by the changes the pandemic brought about. Many changes have taken place in the functioning of nearly every aspect of the criminal justice system. We are speaking today with four lawyers practicing in various parts of the country about their experiences handling criminal cases during the pandemic. What has gone well, what has not gone well, and why. We have with us Sahana Manjesh, who practices in Mumbai, Somnath Vats, who practices in Ahmedabad, Seema Mishra, who practices in Delhi, and Abhishek Dikshit, who practices in Lucknow. Sahana has also authored a report with the Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative on the impact of video conferencing on fair trial rights. Welcome, everyone. Let me just begin by getting a sense of what the impact of the pandemic has been in the local lawyer communities where each of you practice. So, Abhishek ji, the pandemic has been a difficult time for several lawyers. Many have suffered losses to their earnings and their livelihoods. क्या लखनऊ में भी lawyers का experience similar रहा है financially?
जी हाँ, बिल्कुल रहा है। अगर मैं कहूँ कि लखनऊ हाई कोर्ट में 80 से 90% लोग इस समय पैंडेमिक की वजह से हमारे जो अधिवक्ता भाई हैं वो सफर कर रहे हैं। काफी असर पड़ा है। लोगों ने अच्छे अच्छे स्कूलों में बच्चों को पढ़ा रहे थे, तो अब यहाँ तक की स्थिति आ गई है कि वकीलों को अपने बच्चों के अच्छे स्कूलों से एडमिशन उनका नाम कटवा करके उनको दूसरे जगह में भी दाखिला दिलवाया है। तो ये स्थितियां हैं, परिस्थितियां हैं, सब लोग परेशान हैं। कल मैं कुछ अपने वकील दोस्तों के साथ में था, तो सब में एक बड़ी निराशा थी कि क्या होगा, कब तक चलेगा।
जी yeah and it's been tough all over हर जगह ही किसी भी वर्ग में हो किसी भी एज में हो they probably faced a lot of difficulty. Sahana, how has the pandemic impacted the decisions of young lawyers, young practitioners in Bombay, maybe who had recently started independent practices?
It's been fairly tough for us young lawyers, to be honest, because I think you need to be in court, you need to be seen to be able to get more cases and to build your practice. And that's of course been very difficult because our lower courts, our session courts, they're not physically open except for very limited hearings, like say bail hearings or remand hearings, unlike say a Delhi lower court where even that's been able to move to the video conferencing platform. And high court listings also are very difficult to get because there are a limited number of those. So it's been tough. It's been tough. Many young lawyers who've probably come to Bombay from other cities have had to go back home. And also, Bombay is a city which really relies on its trains, right? So we've not had access to trains, which has been a very, very difficult thing, not just for young lawyers, but also for everybody who supports an office, the clerks, the people who work in these courts. It's been a tough time.
Right. In Delhi, for instance, Seema, we move from just generally lawyers as a community to specific kind of lawyers, especially legal aid lawyers. So you seem to do a lot of legal aid work, for instance. How has the quality of legal aid been impacted during the pandemic, or how have legal aid lawyers been getting by during the pandemic?
So there is, most of us do a lot of trial work as legal aid, and there is no trial happening at all. And a lot of, in Delhi though, there is, you're on video conferencing, but I found a lot of lawyers finding it difficult because they have to use the phone, their children are on online classes. So a lot of people have had to, find it difficult to connect on the phone, to a video conference. And there is no, besides the legal aid, there's no production happening. So
Right.
extension of remand is happening without any lawyer presence. So these are very, very, very critical issues of at the time of production, not having a lawyer present. This is a critical issue that we've had to deal with.
And just from everyone, actually, what has the response been from local bar associations or lawyers bodies? Let's hear from Somnath sir, in fact, on this. How have they reacted to the changes that have come about?
So lawyers and lawyers' bodies, they are two entities which are trying to operate simultaneously also. And sometimes lawyers as in a certain category, see, I will divide lawyers in two categories, particularly on criminal side. One are those lawyers who practice on process side, so to sort of get the work done. And then there are those lawyers who are practicing on the legal issues, trials, which concern, say, arising out of bail. So those are people who are able to transit between one court, one forum, Metro, JMFC, Sessions, High Court. In Ahmedabad, fortunately, and in Gujarat in general, the cases were the controlled or the response of the state government and the courts in transiting to a Zoom-based, app-based court system was relatively quicker, as in from what I can understand from my other friends. And therefore, the demand of lawyers, the law association, bar associations, was physical resumption. So the complaint was not that it is virtual, like Seema said, that productions were happening without lawyers. That is an instance which I do not know of here. Because as soon as somebody had a lawyer, the lawyer was getting Zoom links for appearances. And if physical production of the accused was there, he could have insisted with appropriate precautions. I have appeared physically during remand hearings. So
right.
The request always had been for physical resumption. That was the large demand which was made.
Staying on that, the move to online hearings has a particular kind of impact on certain proceedings on the criminal side, such as those for remand or for bail. So now cases for remand require a lot of physical movement sometimes between the court, police station, jail, by the lawyer, or at least inquiries being made from where it's happening, etc., etc. So in Ahmedabad courts, were there unique challenges in seeking remand, particularly in those periods where there was complete lockdown, for instance, in the beginning or during the second wave?
Yes, so that's a good point. Now, so in production, remand-related issues, I would classify that into two levels. One, those people who had some sort of anecdotal access to lawyers, so they were able to get lawyers, both financially as well as in terms of approaching them. There are other people who may not belong to that city or even the state, and therefore they would have had no access in terms of knowledge, contacts. So those are people who would have been affected, because ordinarily such people at first instance would have been given legal aid lawyers. And without much interview, obviously, because that kind of opportunity did not exist even for private lawyers. So therefore legal aid lawyers, because there is a very active legal aid community which is then set up under the Gujarat State Legal Aid Advisory Committees. Right. So it's an active committee. It obviously requires much to be improved on, but those are people who are then able to represent. So those kind of, in terms of quality issues were there, but I would say infrastructurally, the court here, and you must also bear in mind that the Chief Justice here, he started live broadcast, live streaming of the Chief Court quite soon, very early. Right. And therefore, there has been a proactive step by furnishing permanent Zoom IDs to all the judges, except the JMFC courts. But all sessions courts in Gujarat, they have a permanent Zoom ID. So you are able to access the court. The staff were extremely cooperative with all the teething challenges. I'm not trying to sweep any issues, But the access issue was resolved, and it's a daily process getting resolved. But it's happening. It's happening.
विभोर मैं थोड़ा सा इसमें जोड़ना चाहती हूँ क्योंकि लगता है कि कुछ मतलब दिल्ली में लीगल एड लॉयर्स तो थे, पर क्योंकि प्रोडक्शन बिल्कुल ही वर्चुअल था ना, तो आप अपने वकील नहीं ला सकते थे. अब लीगल एड लॉयर्स रूटीन में कर रहे हैं और सारा प्रोडक्शन जेल से हो रहा था, तो उनको वीसी लिंक है. दिल्ली में एक्चुअली वीसी लिंक हर कोर्ट का परमानेंट है, पर आप जब वो जेल के अंदर हमें अलाउड नहीं था, जेल के एमएम का लिंक नहीं था हमारे पास, वो तो लीगल एड लॉयर सब कुछ करेगा. तो अपना स्मॉल थिंग्स लाइक एक्सटेंशन ऑफ रिमांड, आप केस डायरी साइन करवाना चाहते हैं तो वो कैसे होगी, क्योंकि इतना सब इतने डरे हुए थे, किसी को जेल से निकाल नहीं रहे थे. सो दैट वाज अ वेरी बिग प्रॉब्लम. एंड वेरी सिमिलर टू व्हाट सोमनाथ जी is saying is that bar, at least the district court के bars were very insistent on physical hearing, not because it's difficult access, but बहुत सारे लोगों को walk in clients मिलते हैं. तो उससे कि मतलब जैसे कुछ लोग हैं जो कर सकते हैं अपने ऑफिसेज में वीसी, वो ठीक था, पर बहुत सारे लोगों को वो वहां बैठते हैं अपने चेंबर में और क्लाइंट्स आते हैं, वो इसलिए वो लोग बहुत चाह रहे थे कि फिजिकल हियरिंग.
On remand, Sahana, I think the report that you worked on had certain recommendations on remand. What do you think are the limitations of a remand proceeding conducted online or on video? या remand जैसी जो important proceeding है completely कभी भी ढंग से video पे की जा सकती है with the requirements that it has incumbent upon a magistrate?
Yeah, to be honest, I don't think it's ever possible to replace a true proper exercise of remand in a virtual sense.
Right.
Because there are so many things that a magistrate is required to do, right? So you're required to see if a person is injured. You're required to question if there has been any, difficulty in custody. And it's just, I mean, we assume that whatever was happening physically can just be transplanted online, but that's not really the case, right? Because you need to have certain special safeguards. So when I was interviewing lawyers and judges, including magistrates, and mostly lawyers who were practicing in before the magistrates. And a lot of times what they told me was that, police station में जब police custody remand होता था, तो police officer के हाथ में रहता था mobile phone, जिसके through वो produce होते थे magistrate के साथ. तो तुम सोच सकते हो ना कि you can never ask the police officer to step outside the room, and there's obviously going to be some assumption of coercion in that. Maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't, but the law requires that you have a certain sense of independence, which has not been possible because of the pandemic, obviously, because, a lot of times there was restriction of movement, courts were not functioning. So I feel that, it was okay perhaps at that stage, in the early stages of the pandemic, but there are some things that are necessarily to be done physically. And even if you were to look at how the CRPC amendment happened, right? So Section 167, when it was amended, the only production through video conferencing that was allowed was for judicial custody remand. And I think even that there are issues like the speakers before has explained. Typically for police custody remand, the first remand upon arrest, there's a requirement that it happens in person.
Perhaps similar to that, there is an issue on bail matters and the urgency there. Now, we know that a lot of matters getting listed across the country during the pandemic were bail applications. Bail applications, in fact, काफी थोक के भाव में list हो रही होंगी. But did you face in Bombay any difficulties in having urgent bail matters heard before the trial courts or the high court? Or did you see any changes in the way that bails were granted or how surety was fixed when bail was being granted?
See, bail hearings have been happening quite regularly and routinely in Bombay, which has been great, in the sense that because that's the only work really apart from remand work, it's also been getting a lot of attention, which is a good thing. But the thing is, like I said, our sessions courts and our magistrate courts are not online, right? So those of us who were able to go and appear in court for these bail matters sometimes were unable to do so because the trains are not functioning, or we were scared to do it at times. There were dates when I was very scared in the peak. I was very scared to make that travel also. So a lot of times those applications just ended up being pending, and your clients are calling you and they're asking you what's up, and you don't really have an answer because it was not easy to go. With respect to the High Court, of course, those hearings were taking place virtually. but I mean, yeah, you had to wait for your slot as with most things. But I'd like to really mention about surety and the kind of issues some of us had to face with that, right?
Yes.
And it's true even in general times, of course, that a lot of people, especially in the kind of cases which come through legal aid or the pro bono matters that you do, these are people who, in any case, have a difficult time arranging for surety. But that became a sort of double challenge in this time because you couldn't really go around and meet people. You need to meet 5 to 10 people, and maybe one of them will, end up being the person who'll stand surety. And work doesn't get done in one day. It's procedural. There are some requirements. They need to get a medical test. Some document is missing, and it was again difficult for them to come from far away. So there were cases in which I've got a bail order and I've had to wait for 2 to 3 months before the party's been able to arrange for surety.
Oh, wow.
And also the difficulty has been that although we were allowed to make phone calls to our clients in the prison, that worked well for some time. But in the middle, again, they sort of did not allow for that. We had to make physical visits to prison. So, there was just so much lost in translation in this entire process.
Right.
But I mean, in on a positive note, there were some judges also who gave conditions such as, granting cash surety until the complete reopening of courts, at which time you could give your other sureties.
Okay.
So, I mean, it was a bit of good and a bit of bad, I'd say.
Right. I mean, and one thing you bring up is that that as a criminal lawyer, there is only so much that you can just not appear and not take up your client's cause. So, for instance, अभिषेक जी, क्या कई बार आपको ऐसा लगा कि आपको एक मैटर के लिए फिजिकली अपीयर होना पड़ रहा है एक अदालत के सामने, या कहीं और भागा दौड़ी करनी पड़ रही है, और उसकी वजह से आप अपने आप को या शायद अपने आसपास जो लोग रहते हैं उनको आपको रिस्क पे डालना पड़ रहा है, क्योंकि ये काम है एक क्रिमिनल लॉयर का? तो डिड यू और योर कलीग्स फील that you had to make court visits that could have been avoided, जो शायद जरूरत नहीं थी, and you took the risk of being infected and getting COVID? And what were social distancing measures in courts or in the high court? What was that like? हमको थोड़ा उस पर बताइए.
अगर मैं अपनी बात कहूं तो मैं व्यक्तिगत तौर से तो मैं अपने आप को भी परेशानी में डालने में राजी हूं. अमूमन मेरे यहाँ ये सब चाहते हैं कि कोर्ट में बहस हो, फिजिकल हेयरिंग हो, और आप ये समझिए कि हमारे यहाँ हाई कोर्ट की नई हाई कोर्ट की इमारत बनी हुई है, इलाहाबाद हाई कोर्ट की जो लखनऊ बेंच है, तो वो बहुत विशाल और भव्य है. तो इतनी जगह है, उसमें सोशल डिस्टेंसिंग ही अपने आप में एक ये गलत है. मेरे ख्याल से वो फिजिकल डिस्टेंसिंग वर्ड होना चाहिए. तो उसमें जो है आप इतना जगह है कि आप मतलब कोई सवाल ही नहीं उठता और सब लोग आराम से उस पर बहस कर सकते हैं. कोर्ट रूम बहुत बड़े बने हुए हैं हमारे यहाँ और डिस्टेंस बहुत है, और सब चाहते हैं अगर आप वकीलों से बात की जाए और उनका एक एवरेज निकाला जाए तो 90 से 95% वकील ये कह रहा है कि फिजिकल हियरिंग स्टार्ट होनी चाहिए. बट टिल येट नथिंग हैज बीन डन. अच्छा, हम लोग 1-2 साल हो रहा है धीरे धीरे कब से सफर कर रहे हैं. ये कहिए कि हम लोग हाँ थोड़ा सा एक फैमिली बैकग्राउंड है, मतलब सरवाइव कर पा रहे हैं जी. लेकिन बहुत से ऐसे वकील हैं जो लखनऊ शहर में रहते थे, मैं व्यक्तिगत जानता हूँ, वो लखनऊ छोड़ चुके हैं, वो चले गए अपने गाँव को. अपने बच्चों का दाखिला उन्होंने जहां अच्छे स्कूलों में करवाया था नाम कटवा लिया है. सिविल कोर्ट में, ट्रायल कोर्ट में 200 से 250 वकीलों ने अपना लाइसेंस सरेंडर कर दिया है बार काउंसिल का. वो अब कोई और काम करने जा रहे हैं क्योंकि 1 साल में उनका कुछ नहीं हुआ है. सब कुछ खुल रहा है लेकिन सिर्फ हाई कोर्ट की बंद है. अच्छा, दूसरी बात यह है, जजेस अभी तक हमने कोई एक ऐसा मतलब जजेस की तरफ से, लॉर्डशिप की तरफ से कोई ऐसा इनिशिएटिव नहीं देखा कि उन्होंने अपनी सैलरी को वो किया हो, मतलब अधिवक्ताओं के हित में कि वो कर रहे हैं. अब वकील बेचारा क्या करेगा? वो तो उसको एक तो पैंडेमिक में नीचे से लेके ऊपर तक हर आदमी परेशान. वैसे ही नंबर ऑफ केसेस मैंने देखा है कि फाइलिंग कम हो गई, लोग टर्न अप नहीं हो रहे हैं क्लाइंट्स. क्रिमिनल में जो बहुत जरूरी है, जो अंदर है, और हमारे यहाँ सबके यहाँ तो बहुत अच्छी अच्छी बातें हैं, लेकिन मेरे यहाँ हाईकोर्ट में ना बेल लिस्टेड हो रही है, ना अर्जेंट मैटर लिस्ट हो रहे हैं, बहुत दिक्कतें आ रही हैं,
जी
और सब लोग बहुत सफर कर रहे हैं, और बार हमारी बिल्कुल एकोमोडेट नहीं कर रही है हम लोगों से।
कि ये ऐसा क्यों हो रहा है कि ये ट्रांजिशन या ये चेंज नहीं हो पा रहा है, कि अगर आप हियरिंग्स फिजिकल कर रहे हैं तो सेफली कर पाएं, अगर सब लॉयर्स इतना परेशान हो पा रहे हैं तो उनके लिए अकोमोडेशन क्यों नहीं हो पा रहा है सिस्टम्स के चेंजेस के थ्रू?
मेरे यहाँ तो मैं बीइंग एन एडवोकेट, मैं तो एश्योर करता हूँ, अगर आप कोई और आके आउटसाइडर देख ले, तो फिजिकल हियरिंग तो बिल्कुल आप ये देख लीजिए, सोशल डिस्टेंसिंग के सारे नॉर्म्स फॉलो करते हुए हमारे यहाँ हो जाएगी, इतना स्पेस है। और सबसे पहले जब शुरुआत हुई थी, तो सबसे पहले अगर कुछ बंद हुआ था तो वो हाईकोर्ट था हमारे यहाँ, और सब कुछ खुल रहा है, और अभी तक हमारे यहाँ हाईकोर्ट नहीं खुला है, और सब खुल जाएगा, और सबसे बाद में ही हाईकोर्ट खुलेगा, क्योंकि लॉर्डशिप्स को तो कोई दिक्कत है नहीं, और वकील बेचारा मरे तो कोई वो नहीं है। तो वो सारी स्थितियां हैं, और जो अत्यंत मैं कहूं कि विकराल रूप धारण कर चुकी है। हाँ, कल कुछ सुनने में आया था कि जुलाई के मिड में आगे 1-2 हफ्ते में कुछ पॉसिबिलिटी है कि फिजिकल हियरिंग स्टार्ट हो, लेकिन अर्जेंट मैटर ही हमारे यहाँ लिस्टेड नहीं हो रहे हैं, बेल की सुनवाई नहीं हो रही है। और अगर ये फिजिकल हियरिंग शुरू हुई तो मैं ये बता रहा हूँ, आने वाले 6-7-8 महीने जो मैटर लिस्ट होंगे, क्योंकि वो बैकलॉग फ्रेश लगे होंगे पुराने, तो वो आएंगे, तो लिस्टिंग आप भूल जाइए लंबे समय तक, वो भी बहुत वो होगा।
So I sense that there is a certain amount of apathy or turning the other way, looking the other way, that may be involved. Now another category that gets affected similarly are prisoners. Now, Seema, in the matter of emergency parole or interim bail to prisoners, we have seen that the courts and state governments have taken active steps by forming high-powered committees. So, what has been your experience on ground in Delhi with proceedings for either interim bail or for parole under the guidelines framed by such high-powered committees? Or is there still some ignorance happening, or is there finally some attention being paid to how much we incarcerate and how much there may actually be a need to make arrests and maintain custody?
So arrests are carrying on as they, as if nothing has happened, and where they can, when there is, they can follow, under 7 years and not arrest, they are really not looking into that. But the legal aid, the High Court and the trial courts are fairly active on this thing of, they've set up guidelines of who can be released from prison. But usme, and their regular legal aid lawyers being asked to appear. But again, in that also, जब वो guidelines में आते हैं, तब भी कुछ, especially in matters of POCSO, even if they come within guidelines, unko, they want the judges are very keen to send it to the regular court. Right. And so they are usually जो आ रहे हैं वो 7 साल से कम की सजा वाले cases हैं, जो HPC High Powered Committee High Court ने कहा है कि उनको रिलीज करिए. पर दिक्कत क्या आ रही है कि जो केसेस ऑफ रेप, NDPS, अब उनकी एविडेंस अटकी हुई है, वो सालों से अंदर हैं, कोई साइन ही नहीं है एविडेंस का, तो वो भी मतलब आप बेल नहीं देंगे जब तक एविडेंस नहीं होगी. हाई कोर्ट भी कह रहा है कि ये की विटनेसेस एग्जामिन हो. जैसे रेप में आमतौर पे यदि प्रोसिक्यूटर्स की एविडेंस हो जाती है तो उसके बाद बेल कंसिडर की जाती है.
Right.
You may not get it, but पर यहाँ वो उसका वही मौका ही नहीं है मेरा. And what is led to people doing is कि interim bail बहुत लोग डाल रहे हैं on specious grounds. वो पता ही लगता है एप्लीकेशन देखकर, क्योंकि सबकी चिंता है. तो ये HPC वाले गाइडलाइंस वाले तो हो रहे हैं बहुत देर, और वो ऑटोमेटिक. पर इसमें ये भी है कि वो एक्सटेंड होगी कि नहीं, उसमें बहुत भागा दौड़ी हो रही है. आई रिमेम्बर लास्ट लॉकडाउन, every 3 months I had to apply for extension because there was confusion कि ऑटोमेटिक होगा कि नहीं. but that's all right. वो तो हमारा काम है. But
Right.
the ones who have, the so-called serious offences में बहुत दिक्कत हो रही है.
Right. And you mentioned recording of evidence. Now, while most criminal matters taken up over online hearings over the last 16 months may have been bail applications, and while some accommodation may have been made towards parole as well, so there may be some degree of familiarity for those proceedings online. But there are other stages of the criminal procedure that do not so easily transition from physical hearings to online hearings. So one such stage, obviously, is the recording of evidence by witnesses during a criminal trial. So, in your experience, what has recording of evidence been happening in trials at all?
So actually in Delhi, for almost 6 or 7 months, they had started this system of each court will sit on every alternate day.
Right.
And तो एक दिन मंगलवार को यदि एक कोर्ट बैठेगा तो वो फिर बुधवार को उसकी छुट्टी होगी और फिर बृहस्पतिवार को बैठेगा. So in that actually, and litigants were not allowed to come only if they were summoned by the court.
Right.
तो उससे क्या हो रहा था, at least in the trial courts, कि काफी सोशल डिस्टेंसिंग हो पा रही थी, कम लोग थे, और उस दौरान तो काफी एविडेंस रिकॉर्ड हुई है, और मतलब 313 स्टेटमेंट ऑफ अक्यूज भी रिकॉर्ड हुआ है, फाइनल आर्ग्यूमेंट्स भी वो भी वीसी से हो सकते हैं. तो आई थिंक कि डर तो सबको है, क्योंकि दिल्ली में जो पिछले 2 महीने में 3 महीने में हुआ है उसमें कोर्ट स्टाफ भी बहुत बुरी तरह उन पे असर पड़ा है, जजेस भी पे भी हुआ है, तो डरे तो सब हैं. पर इस तरह यदि हम लोग खोलें थोड़ा थोड़ा कर और जिन मैटर्स में एविडेंस नहीं है वो तो अब ये 1.5 साल हो गया, अब एविडेंस नहीं होगी और वो लोग सब जेल में होंगे, तो बहुत इट्स अ वेरी सीरियस जस्टिस इशू. एंड द ओनली थिंग इज कि बेल तो हम लोगों के यहाँ बहुत हो रही है, सुनी जा रही हैं, दे गेट लिस्टेड, द सिस्टम इज वेरी गुड, लाइक सोमनाथ सेड, वेरी वेरी हेल्पफुल स्टाफ, पर bandwidth की दिक्कत है. So I am actually arguing a bail without seeing the face of a judge. सब वो उसमें video off है, so it's very difficult to gauge. If it's a court that I appear in regularly and the judge knows me, it's okay.
Right.
If it's a new court, then he doesn't know. So it's a very difficult thing that this doesn't happen in high court, but trial court में बहुत होता है.
Right. Now, on this gauging of facial gestures or gauging the mind of the judge, and the judge doing the same with a witness, that is an important part of recording evidence, for instance. So, Somnath sir, do you think that as a long-term measure, video conferencing can be used for recording of evidence in criminal trials? And if so, then in what categories of cases?
Insofar as recording of online evidence is concerned, I have had the opportunity of cross-examining, but it was not a wide-scale practice till recently, before it became physical. And because most lawyers, for reasons which Seema just said, were wary of taking cross-examination in distant manner, or as in my case, where the witness was sitting right beside me, but the court was at a distance or connected through a computer. Now, documents which are there with the court are also there with the witness, may also be there with me, but we may not be at the same page. So what question you are asking, you had to probably explain to the court in terms of relevance. Ke saab, ye wo line ka question hai. Now, in cross-examination, obviously asking questions, once you have already asked, and then you're getting to the next one, and if you're trying to explain, probably even in English, sometimes the witness gets the hint. That's a question which she requires to be cautious of or think about. So, physical hearing, cross-examination, noting of demeanor, imagine a face of a person, section 281 CRPC. How would a court note demeanor?
Correct.
In such circumstances, it's not that it's impossible. However, so this is from the accused side, cross-examining a witness. But when it comes to a prosecutrix giving evidence, there is already an inbuilt mechanism where she can choose to be in a position or in a secluded environment where she's not face-to-face with, say, a defense lawyer or even an accused. So there is some sort of mechanism which is built in presently, which could be used in a video conference facility, but I would have my doubts, because there the court can exercise its powers whenever the accused or the defense is trying to be intimidatory. Being more active in such circumstances would be a better solution rather than putting it to video conference. Because what we have seen before is that from that Prafulla Dave matter, where in Canada, when the video conference related evidence of witnesses were permitted, now we have provisions where the entire trial can happen when accused is at a distance in the jail, where his physical production is not needed. And it is so required because this has to be reflected. You can't impose a system where witness is to be cross-examined and then convert it into a mechanism by which you can conduct a trial where accused and his lawyers are separated by a screen.
Right.
Because there are so many occasions when, let's say that a lawyer does a mistake. How would an accused through the screen interrupt?
That's right.
He finds that extremely hesitating. And another thing is that we have recordings of evidence where accused say, in a heinous case, let us say, I would not say he's done it, but because of graininess of the picture, because of some connectivity issue, the trial gets delayed. Now, what about the prosecutrix in that matter? What about the state or society's interest in that matter?
Correct.
So you have to put a balance and see what best serves. So what may apply well for a muddamal matter may not apply for an evidence-based matter.
No, I had a question. So
yeah,
you're saying that evidence is being recorded through video conferencing in Gujarat?
In some of the cases, but as I said, it's not a widespread practice. Some principal judges, because they are taking the view that the accused is behind bars.
Right.
So why should I delay his trial?
So because in Delhi that's not happening at all, and we are also very wary because about prompting of witnesses, exactly all the things that you said. And
yes,
I have done one examination of prosecutrix from abroad. It's very exhausting,
yes.
That having everybody having documents. Yeah, it's interesting because I have not seen it happening in Delhi at all.
I have done it. That's why I'm saying, but it is exhausting. It takes time. The Zoom link goes off after a certain point of time. So you're in the middle of a point developing something, then 10 minutes. Then the court is dictating something, you are barely able to see it on the screen. Those kind of things are, so it's a really complex issue, as in it doesn't have so it's not by saying simply that you replace physical by virtual and therefore you can have speedy trial.
Right.
That and that too accompanied with fair trial. I do not. I think much needs to be thought about it.
Absolutely, no doubt, it's a complex issue, and I just to take a cue from how exhausting that is, one other issue that is exhausting for criminal lawyers, something that you touched upon as well, is receiving instructions from imprisoned clients. Now, even previously, securing instructions from clients in prison has never been an easy task for a criminal lawyer. Now, Sahana, what challenges have you faced in contacting imprisoned clients during the pandemic, or in while preparing the report on this particular issue? Have the jails been cooperative in allowing sufficient access to clients to seek instructions?
It was really a work in progress, to be honest. So in the first wave of the pandemic, early on, we genuinely, as lawyers and as family members, had no way of contacting prisons because, of course, they were completely shut down to anyone outside. So, like in Bombay, there was a petition that was filed in the Bombay High Court in which lawyers wanted to get access to their clients, and therefore they're coming up with this policy of giving out phone numbers. So you could write in the morning, give the UTP number or the convict number, and then they would call you back, which was a great system because I think for the first time, a lot of lawyers were talking to their clients while they were in prison, because otherwise all of those conversations happen when they're brought to court, right? Because it's genuinely very difficult for lawyers to make time to go to prison and meet with their clients. So that was good for a brief period of time. But what happened was between the first and the second waves, when there were those 3 months where we thought, things are back to normal, things went back to not having the telephone number and for us to have to go visit. That process was disrupted. But in my conversations with lawyers in different cities for the purpose of the report, I realized that this was not so easy. Getting access to speak to their clients was impossible because there are so many prisons in our country which don't even have a phone call facility. The prison officers are not allowed to give their mobile phones. Most times, prisons are outside of network areas. So there is no system of even having a phone number, and of course, nobody was allowed to visit prison anywhere. So it was impossible for so many lawyers to speak to their clients to know what was happening. And perhaps the one good place where video conferencing could have been used and was used in some cases, like in Sikkim, one of the judges that I was talking to was telling me that they converted one of the rooms with the VC system in the court for the purpose of Vakil Mulakat. But the thing is, see, one is, of course, access. Like I'm saying, it was not uniform. In a big city with phone call facilities, perhaps it was possible. In a lot of places, there aren't phones. But the second thing is also, a lot of times you're not so sure that these communication channels are secure, right?
Yes.
So that becomes another issue for a lot of cases, which is not to say that, right now is the time that we would be able to get that. It requires more thought. But going forward, I feel that one of the good things about this process of having these e-mulakats was that there was an increase in the conversation possible between lawyers and clients, and I hope that this is one of those few good things that we take forward. And also just to add to what Somnath sir was saying, actually trials have been taking place through video conferencing in a few other cities as well. Communication at that particular moment, right, when you want to confer with your client while the trial is going on, right? I'm talking about having instructions before a hearing, where I can call, get the instructions that I need, or I call and update them about what is happening. But if a trial is taking place, examination is happening, in the process, I may want to confer something. They may want to tell me something. That, again, there was no private channel of communication that was possible in the course of proceedings. Some judges, again, told me that if the lawyer requested that they wanted to talk to their client, then they would leave the courtroom, and then the lawyer could ask whatever they wanted to. But, it's not routine. Not every client would be able to speak up and ask for this right. Not every lawyer will make that effort. Not every judge will be so obliging.
The way receiving instructions from prisoners has sort of both improved but not really improved, has been very ad hoc in the way it has happened in the pandemic. You benefit from it at times, you don't other times. Another such system is mentioning. In a judicial system that is plagued with delays, one important tool that lawyers rely on is mentioning cases and important applications for getting listed. This especially happens in high courts. However, mentioning cases before judges or even otherwise getting cases filed and listed have been greatly impacted during the pandemic. So, Abhishek ji, you spoke earlier about how difficult it was to get matters listed in the Lucknow High Court. तो लखनऊ हाई कोर्ट में क्या मैकेनिज्म अभी फॉलो हो रहे हैं, फॉर्मली या इनफॉर्मली, क्रिमिनल केसेस को फाइल करने के लिए या अर्जेंट पिटिशन या एप्लीकेशंस को फाइल करके लिस्ट कराने के लिए क्या किस तरह से प्रक्रिया फॉलो हो रही है?
Sir, in spite of order passed by the High Court in various matters, that matter should be listed after 2 weeks, matter should be listed after 5 weeks, they are not getting listed.
Right.
मतलब वो ऑर्डर है, लेकिन अब आप उसमें लिस्टिंग एप्लीकेशन डालें, और उन लिस्टिंग एप्लीकेशंस में वो हो रहा है कि लिस्ट आफ्टर 2 months, लिस्ट आफ्टर 4 weeks. और हाई कोर्ट में तो जब हमारे यहाँ ये ऑनलाइन ये चली थी, ये सारी जो थी, तो हम लोग बैठे रहते थे, पता चला केस लगा है, इतने नंबर पे है, 10 बजे से बैठ के 3 बजे तक बैठे हैं, नंबर ही नहीं आ रहा है.
राइट.
फिर पता चला, ये भी नहीं पता है कि कोर्ट आफ्टर लंच बैठेगी कि नहीं बैठेगी. बैठे हुए हैं, पता चला ऑर्डर आया कि कोर्ट विल नॉट सिट आफ्टर लंच. तो ये सारी दिक्कतें आ रही हैं, और मेरा मानना है कि मैं एक बहुत मतलब इन चीजों को बिलीव, ये एक होता है कि आप, जैसे होता है ना कि आप डॉक्टर को दिखाने जाते हैं, तो देसी एक वो होता है कि आप जब तक डॉक्टर नब्स ना पकड़ के देख ले, आला ना लगा के देख ले, तब तक सेटिस्फेक्शन नहीं मिलता है. वो कहते हैं अच्छा हाँ ऐसे ही देख लिया, ये दवा देती. तो हाँ, जब तक कोर्ट के सामने एक्सप्रेशंस ना देखे, जज का मूड ना देखे, पेपर्स ना वो कर सके। कई बार होता है कुछ पेपर्स हम लोग एनेक्स नहीं कर पाते हैं, वो हम लोग ड्यूरिंग आर्गुमेंट देते हैं,
राइट।
तो वो चीजें होती हैं, बाद में मिल जाती हैं। कई रूलिंग्स होती हैं जो हम लोगों को बाद में मिलती हैं, और वो कोर्ट ना देखे और आप वो चीज हो नहीं पाती है। और ये आप ट्रायल की और इसकी बात कर रहे हैं, मेरे यहाँ तो हाई कोर्ट में बेल और इसकी बड़ी दिक्कत आ रही है।
जी।
ट्रायल की तो आप बात ही ना करिए। सिर्फ वकीलों का काम यहाँ पे लोअर कोर्ट में सिर्फ रजिस्ट्री तक हो गया है। सारे मैटर्स मेरे जो कुछ लिस्टेड थे जो ट्रायल कोर्ट में, उनमें सिर्फ डेट्स हो रही है, कोई 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 चीजें नहीं हो रही है, ना एविडेंस हो रहा है, ना कुछ हो रहा है। और हाई कोर्ट का भी बहुत वैसे ही हाल। इतने लोगों में अगर आप 5-10 हजार वकीलों में बात करें तो शायद 2-4, मतलब 100 भी नहीं होंगे जो रेगुलर उस पर वकालत कर रहे हैं।
जी।
तो ये स्थितियां हैं। मतलब सबसे खराब है, मैं जो सबकी बातें सुन रहा हूँ, सारी चीजें नई टेक्नोलॉजी की बातें और सारे सब लोग बोल रही हैं, लेकिन हमारे यहाँ लखनऊ में
जी।
ऐसा कुछ नहीं हो।
इसमें से कुछ मुद्दे ऐसे हैं जो कोर्ट्स में जनरली भी होते हैं पैंडेमिक के पहले, जो और बिगड़ गए होंगे शायद पैंडेमिक आने के बाद। लेकिन चाहे होते हो पहले, चाहे बाद में पैंडेमिक के बाद में उठे हैं, पर ये मुद्दे, ये प्रॉब्लम्स, ये इश्यूज एग्जिस्ट करते क्यों हैं? इन योर ओपिनियन, व्हाई आर दीज बेसिक प्रॉब्लम्स ऑफ एक्सेस टू जस्टिस एग्जिस्टिंग इन लखनऊ?
देखिए, मेरा मानना है जस्टिस, गेटिंग जस्टिस इज अ फंडामेंटल राइट। और इस समय मैं अपने क्लाइंट को ये श्योर नहीं कर पाता। परसों मेरे पास एक फोन आया, मैं चूंकि बाहर हूँ शहर से, फोन आया कि ऐसा ऐसा मैटर है और ये, तो मैं एश्योर नहीं कर पा रहा था कि हाँ ये मैं करा दूंगा, कि अब ये है अर्जेंसी होगा, टेकअप होगा, अर्जेंट उसको ट्रीट किया जाएगा, परमिशन लेनी पड़ेगी। एक बेल फाइल करने के बाद में लिस्टिंग होने में फ्रेश की मुझे 15 से 20 दिन लग गए। और मैं क्लाइंट को और क्लाइंट को जवाब देते देते मतलब हार गया था। और वो सारी चीजें हो रही हैं, और ये स्थितियां कब तक चलेंगी आई डोंट नो। लेकिन ये चीजें आती इसलिए हैं कि हमारी बार इतनी सक्षम नहीं होती है। जिन लोगों को हम लोग डिटेक्ट करके भेजते हैं, कुछ समय बाद में वो अपने उनके वेस्टेज इंटरेस्ट आ जाते हैं, वो और दूर की सोचने लगते हैं कोई। तो वो वकीलों के लिए और खासकर यंग लॉयर्स के लिए, मतलब हमने तो नहीं देखा कोई भूलने वाला कोई ऐसा अभी तक, इतने उसमें मैंने वकालत में देखा। और वकीलों का एक ऐसा ये भी है, मैं मतलब कहते हुए थोड़ा सा वो लगता है, एक सोशल, एक बहुत अच्छा बना हुआ है सोशल दायरा है कि हाँ वकील साहब। तो आप अपने उनसे मुफलसी की भी बातें नहीं कर सकते कि राइट नाउ आई एम नॉट इन अ पोजीशन टू स्पेंड मनी। तो आप वो भी नहीं कह सकते कि अपनी दिक्कत भी नहीं बयां कर सकते। और समाज में वकील का एक अहम दर्जा है, लेकिन वो अपनी भी नहीं कह सकता है, वो अपनी परेशानी भी नहीं जाहिर कर सकता है, और बस जिए जा रहा है।
तो क्या आपको लगता है इसमें एक ये भी फैक्टर है कि जो एक कोर्ट रूम होता है वो लॉयरिंग और जो केसेस चल रहे हैं उसके अलावा एक और भी चीज का एवेन्यू होता है, वो होता है वकीलों के कमिंग टुगेदर का। वो साथ में आ पाते हैं, चाहे वो लीगल मुद्दे डिस्कस कर रहे हो, चाहे वो अपनी प्रैक्टिस की डेली बातें कर रहे हो। बिकॉज लॉयर्स आर नॉट एबल टू कम टुगेदर, therefore despite feeling all of these problems together, they are not able to perhaps raise their voice. Is that also an issue?
To some extent it is very much all right, but ऐसा नहीं है। जब अगर ऐसी दिक्कतें हैं तो सबके फेसबुक पे कमेंट्स आ रहे हैं, सबके ट्विटर पे कमेंट्स आ रहे हैं, सारी चीजें हैं, बोल रहे हैं सबकी। हम लोगों के ग्रुप्स बने हुए हैं व्हाट्सएप पे, कुछ लोगों ने कुछ प्रोटेस्ट किया भी था, लेकिन जजेस नहीं टर्न अप हो रहे, और हमारी बात जो है इतनी इफेक्टिव नहीं है कि वो उनको वो कर सके। और जो एल्डर्स कमेटी के मेंबरान्स होते हैं उनके अपने इंटरेस्ट होते हैं, और वो सोफिस्टिकेटेड बहुत वो एलीट वर्क एक आता है जिसमें वो यंग लॉयर्स जो हैं वो दब जाते हैं, उनकी आवाज वहां तक नहीं पहुंच पाती है।
Right.
और बीच में ये सारी चीजें होती हैं तो उनके इश्यूज कहीं छुप जाते हैं.
Right. Somnath sir, there's one aspect that we are noticing in the conversation we are having, that while there have been ebbs and flows, highs and lows in the transition for criminal courts during the pandemic, some of those changes are dependent on whether you're at the high court or you're at the trial court. And secondly, they are dependent maybe geographically as well, whether you're in Delhi or Bombay or you're in maybe Lucknow. Why do you think these kinds of issues, which have a clear impact on the right of access to justice, so important in criminal cases, exist? Is there? Why are we unable to to see them coming, to have the foresight to plan for these issues which are going to affect access to justice so deeply? And is access to justice not affected when lawyers are not able to take up cases?
Right. So the issue has a couple of components, because judiciary would be on the administrative side be headed by the High Court. And when you say that whether we could plan ahead, now that planning aspect would probably come from within the community or could be through the state government and law ministry, both at state and central. Now, what I can tell you is that at least in Gujarat, I cannot speak of other jurisdictions,
Right.
is that one of the first video conference courts, which was set up under the digital court kind of, which preceded e-court system, where a pilot project was started, was in the city civil court in Ahmedabad. And that video room where I was present when it was started, when I was not a lawyer, and I had the opportunity to then appear and argue in that room when I became a lawyer.
Right.
And so that sense, I don't know whether it would be true, but this would be, say, about 2004, 2005. Ahmedabad has had experience with the video conference rooms and video conference related use of, say, production, and in some trials.
Right.
Some of these issues did travel to the Gujarat High Court, where issues of, so what we were discussing in terms of not being able to obtain instructions, those were agitated, not allowed. So Praful Desai became the precedent. Now, because of probably this familiarity, and also I think some bit of mercantile nature of the of people here, that
Right.
it's transactional, that you get, okay, let's get this thing done. So therefore, there was greater familiarity. However, it is not to say that certain more safeguards ought to be thrown into this mix. Now, why we are not able to anticipate? So I can say that though it was not anticipated by pandemic point of view, it was actuated more by way of cost to the state, production of people from jail, then security, because there were incidents which happened. I'm sure it happened in Delhi also, in Lucknow also, where under trials are attacked, or two groups they sort of clash within the court premises. So the law and order and cost were the primary issue which drove this transition initially.
Right.
Then when the new building was set up, which the foundation was again pre-pandemic, we have all the sessions court in Ahmedabad, I'm sure, like Karkarduma court in Delhi,
Right.
or Rao's Avenue. So all of them are equipped with video conference facility. So there is that bit of planning which predated pandemic. Same is also true with the high courts, that the digital campaigning was led by competent people, though for different reason, but that it has been able to help in this transition period quickly, or quicker than other places.
Right.
So that is one thing which immediately comes to my mind. However, access to justice in terms of so lawyers' ability to practice, both in terms of the revenue side, which Abhishek Bhai has clearly indicated is a problem which is felt across the state of Gujarat. So there is no denying about the financial impact.
Right.
But that courts were able to pick up gradually, and then after the first wave ended, then speedily, and then again it stopped, and again it started, is because of this some infrastructure which existed, which predated the pandemic, which clearly is the requirement of the day, of the future.
Right.
However, when it comes to livelihood, there is a problem, because if the state starts dictating livelihood or assuring livelihood, then there is no free lunch.
Right.
And when that would happen, then it would be an avenue which I can tell you that the state would love to exploit. So it's like those free passes to the press. When it's given, then you know the kind of report which comes from them.
Right.
So it's a balance. So when for independence of judiciary, the lawyers would be a critical mass, and how to ensure independence and yet to think about their livelihood is a complex issue. I would not merely say that the answer is that the state should step in. How
Right.
best to do it is another thing.
That's right. Now, Sahana, let's just close with you. Now, we have seen access to technology and capacity for computers, video conferencing, and other things are not obviously universal, goes without saying, and they're very many times a function of privilege. Now, recently, the Supreme Court E-Committee has recommended that digital courts, including e-filing, virtual hearings, online case management, be adopted across the trial courts, high courts, and the Supreme Court in the entire country. Now, they've also recommended, there are proposals that lawyers and litigants will be provided technologically enabled transcription of court proceedings. There are proposals for sending and receipt of notices through SMS and email. So there's a lot that is clearly in the pipeline. Now, do you think that such an approach may be in keeping with the reality of how lawyers in any given city perceive of virtual courts and the use of technology in the court system? Or in other words, what should we keep in mind as we move ahead towards more and more technology? What principles of inclusivity and participation can we possibly keep in mind as we make this move, which seems to be inevitable?
I'm really glad you brought up the Supreme Court E-Committee, because I actually wanted to talk about that. Like recently in May, they came out with their draft proposal for how they imagine the phase 3 of the e-courts mission mode project is going to play out. Because, like Somnath sir was saying, around 2004-05, phase 1 was launched, which was when, every court started getting its website, and you started digitizing courts, so to speak, and there was easy access to case details. Phase 2, which is what we're sort of going through, has been to set up some mechanisms which can then be used, including video conferencing, but also to increase things like you're saying, like service through SMS, etc. But phase 3 seems to have sort of got this jump because of the pandemic and how much we're using technology, without really also taking into account all of the conversations that we've had right now. Because this has been done by the Supreme Court E-Committee, and it's been done without really having conversations with lawyers before and at the time of preparing that document. And if you were to look at this vision document that they call it, it's so generic. It could apply to, they assume it could apply to a civil court or a commercial court or a criminal court with equal ease, and that is not the case. There are very fundamental differences in the way a trial happens in a criminal court, and a very fundamental difference in what is at stake when a criminal trial takes place. And so while it's fantastic if we can move towards ease of access in terms of, being able to serve people and more access in terms of digitizing our court systems, I don't think that we are at a stage where we're ready to move on to video conferencing. And we are not at a stage where we can expect lawyers to join in this process with their own devices, right? Because if the court creates a system where there is a video conference and a person who does not have a computer or a phone, as a lawyer, can come and participate, and you assume that everybody has these kind of basic equipment or even internet connection, something as basic as that. We cannot use Delhi or even a Bombay as a yardstick, and Bombay is by far way behind Delhi in terms of its technology, or even in terms of how Ahmedabad is very clearly, right? So these are big cities, 4 big cities that we've spoken about, and there's such a vast difference. Just imagine how it can be and how it is in tier 2 cities or in rural cases where they don't even have these setups. Or as I was discovering through my conversations with a lot of people, there are these video conference systems that are set up. There's a big screen and all of that, but they haven't been able to use that even in this pandemic because it's outdated technology. Obviously, a court staff that's used to writing by hand when they were picked up and who've not been given the necessary training to transition will not be able to set it up. We don't have technical officers. We need those specialists to be able to set it up, to inform our judges and our court staff how to use these systems. And also, we cannot use it as if this is the next step. There are multiple steps that we have to take before that. For example, the very basic SOPs that we have right now, which the Supreme Court came up with and different high courts adopted, are also very generic, right? There is nothing specific about how, if at all, say, cross-examination does take place, or if remand hearing takes place, what are the basic steps that must be taken into account when it happens virtually? That's also not sort of spelled out in our SOPs. It's very generic. So what we're trying to do is to say that, okay, the CRPC exists, our constitutional rights exist, and all we're introducing is this layer of a video conference or the layer of digital India, and that's not sufficient at all. We need to have safeguards that are very specific to the kind of safeguard, to the rights that are at stake at each stage. And also we need to say that, again, there's such a top-down approach, right, where you look at how do you go to the next phase, where you're looking at the Supreme Court committee setting up things for high courts and then so on and so forth. The actual experience of magistrates and session courts judges, who are the people who end up using these systems, I feel is completely lost. And so I think maybe we can borrow some of the good things that we've taken from this space, but there's no reason that we should completely embrace it without ironing out all of these problems that we've discussed in the past hour.
Thank you so much, Sahana, for that succinct summary of the issues that we are traversing. There is certainly cause for a lot of reflection here. Thank you everyone for joining and for sharing your experiences here. This is by no means the definitive conversation on these issues, but it is an important one and one that we need to keep in mind as we move forward in these difficult times. Thank you, Abhishek ji. Thank you, Somnath sir. Thank you, Sahana. And thank you, Seema, for joining us. This is the 39A podcast. Thank you for listening.